then that moves us on to the petitions. We have on there, on the list, 2 petitions that were excluded. One because we had a debate on the issue, and the other one which... Let's have a look. One had already been debated, the other one was dealt with by Cabinet. I think that's explained in your order papers.
Sorry, can I just ask on 8B, the petition about the opening hours of the Holden Stroke Customer Service Centre and Library, can I question the reasoning behind why it was excluded from discussion at this meeting? Because I'm not clear from the description how that would justify ruling it out.
It's been dealt with by legal and doesn't meet the criteria. There's an explanation on the order paper, Councillor Williams.
I think my concern is, I mean, it was due to be moved by a member of a trade union, and I think it's slightly ironic if a Labour council is now not allowing that. But
But if you could benefit yourself, or any group that you're a member of could benefit from a petition being before the council, that is specifically excluded by the council's own constitution.
I understand that.
So that's why it's been excluded.
But
well, with Mr. Councillor Williams, you've got the explanation, and you've accepted that that was correct. So please sit down.
No, I'm not accepting.
Please sit down.
Correct.
Sit down, Councillor Williams. You've had your explanation.
Well,
I'm on my feet, Councillor Williams.
Yes, I can see that.
Councillor Williams.
No,
Councillor Williams.
To ask. There's a petition from 734 members of the public who use the library.
All right. Whips to my office, please.
Well, on what basis have we ruled it out? 734 members of the public bring a petition and you refuse to answer to it. I'm not a fool. You're a fool for ignoring the public. That has nothing to do with it. A petition has been brought by members of the public who use a library to the right place, and it's been ruled out. I think you want to speak to the people who brought this to see what they think of how serious you take this. It's been ruled out. We've had union officials turn up here before bringing petitions. I didn't say anything to the Lord Mayor. I was merely querying. I asked a question, Pete. I asked a question, and it wasn't answered. Well, fair enough. Well, it's in the meeting when it's on the agenda. If they also have an interest because they use the library, then what's the point in us having a petition scheme at all? If people who have an interest in what it's about can't actually move the petition. Not my fault. Only later. What's going on there?
You're going to get in trouble. You're going to get in trouble.
Stop talking about it. You don't want it to look like
Thank you. Please be seated. Councillor Williams. I believe you have something to say on this matter.
Sorry, as I was saying, what I'm not clear on is why it has been ruled out on the basis of who the lead petitioner was, because the lead petitioner is a union rep, but 734 people signed this petition, many of them users of the library or the customer service centre. We offered to get a different different signatory to move the petition, but I just feel there's something not right if we're saying we can't move petitions if the people moving them have a particular circumstances or interests or it's inappropriate. Like, if you use the library, you have an interest. So the council's own system there is ruling out people who actually use the library bringing a petition about it, which to me does not make sense. Which is the point I was going to make.
Can you explain what the position is with relation to this from the Constitution?
Yeah, the petition, when originally presented, was presented on the day that the agenda for the last council meeting was to be published, and it was presented by the, as you say, a union representative, and the individual was advised that they, being the union representative of a contracted organisation contracted by the council to deliver the services, in furtherance of the union's interests, could not present it. They responded in terms saying that they wished, it was being presented as a union issue.
To Standing Order 12.3, which is that the fact of receipt of submission of a non-qualifying petition will be recorded on the agenda of the next council meeting for noting by council without debate. We have now spent 15 or 20 minutes on this issue, debating it in flagrant violation of the Constitution. I would suggest we move on to next business.
Okay, so you formally move next business? All right, next business has been moved and it appears there's a majority. So we'll move on to the next item of business. Councillor Brady.
I think that was an absolute disgrace, and it does the councillor no good whatsoever and the party that he represents. I think it is just showmanship, cameras in the building, and I think there is a flagrant misuse of the council chamber. Absolute disgrace. It seems to me that that you can try to do anything to disrupt this council meeting just out of self-interest, and it's absolutely not acceptable. Second, can I go on? Can I go on? Can I
Councillor
go
Williams, sit down, please.
I think
Excuse me, Councillor Brady. Councillor Williams, will you please desist?
among all this petulance, let's start talking about the good things about this city, which very rarely is talked about.
Councillor Ross.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I'll start off by addressing Councillor Brady's comments on my colleague Councillor Williams. Councillor Williams is a hard-working local councillor, doing in this chamber no different to what he's done on that particular matter over the summer months, trying to make sure that the voices and opinions of people of Hull can be heard in this chamber by trying to make sure that the petition can be heard. The fact that this Labour group so clearly didn't want that to happen speaks volumes that actually they are not a democratic party. They do not want to hear the opinions of people of Hull. Ironically, of course, given who they think the petition is coming from, people they so clearly worked with to help get elected in the first place 5 years ago, If they're not willing to listen to the public on a simple petition, how much confidence can we have that they're willing to listen to the public on public consultation around the budget? And Councillor English, if you're going to heckle all the way through, I'll address that one. We have made those points to the legal officers around actually need for that matter to be changed. But moving on, there is much to congratulate on.
Mr. Brady, can we have some order in the chamber, please? Councillor Williams, how many times are we going to have to ask you to behave? One more time and I will have to ask you to leave the chamber. Councillor Williams. Councillor Williams, I'd like to see... Right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have to adjourn this matter. Councillor Williams seems not to understand the business. Please, Councillor English, followed by Councillor Sumpton.
Before you adjourn, could I invite you to move Standing Order 25.3 in relation to Councillor Williams, and if he persists in his behaviour, I would then invite you to move Standing Order 25.4. And we can vote on whether we want him in the chamber or not, rather than the rest of us having to leave all the time.
Moved. And seconded.
Speak for on behalf of the Lib Dem group on that motion.
You can.
Lord Mayor, I do think it's fairly understandable.
Without discussion. Read your standing orders, Councillor Ross. 20.
It's now been seconded. Okay, I'm hung by the Constitution. Right, I'm sorry. It has to be without discussion, so therefore there will be a vote on 25.3 as formally moved. On the board.
Standing orders in front of me because this council can't do anything properly. Would you perhaps advise me what 25.3 actually is? And could somebody make sure that the staff make sure we've got copies?
I'll read 25. Councillor McCobb, thank you for your offer. I'll read this out. Councillor McCobb, I'll read this out as I've been asked to, then I will take your point of order. 25.3. If a member persistently disregards the ruling of the Lord Mayor by behaving improperly or offensively or deliberately obstructs business, the Lord Mayor may move that the member be not further heard. If seconded, the motion will be voted on without discussion. I'll take your point of order, Councillor McCobb.
Deliberately twisting the rules because he has moved 25.3, whereas the Constitution clearly states that only you can do so. You had already asked members to meet you in private.
Invited you to move it, but you moved it.
The point of order, Lord Mayor, is that.
I take your point, Councillor McCobb. I accept the invitation of Councillor English and accept the seconding from Councillor Sumpton.
It's bullying of the worst kind.
Councillor McCobb, thank you. You weren't here earlier. You were not present when the other incidents have occurred previously. Thank you for your assistance. It now moves to the board. All those in favour on 20... Well, for and against on this one. Right, that's been passed. Thank you, Councillor McCobb. Okay, that can be formally recorded. And anyone else that wishes to be formally recorded as being in opposition to it, we can take that as read if you raise your hands now. That's fine. Okay, so we move on. We continue with the business again, and the clock will restart.
On issue around behaviour, I noticed this morning that Labour Party leadership acting a little bit like Santa Claus and making a list of who's being naughty and nice, and our own East Hull MP appearing on that list. Well, the Labour Party clearly have an interesting few weeks ahead with the announcement of their I don't think I can really use the word new leader, can I, if it looks so nailed on that Jeremy Corbyn will be re-elected. The Labour leader of this council takes issue with our group being in opposition. That is our job. Our job is there to be in opposition to what you are doing. The job of the Labour Party nationally is to do the same for this government. It is failing. It is letting down the people of this city and this country. You mentioned the caravan industry. Well, of course, the caravan industry was partly saved by the actions of